All right. Thanks everyone for joining us this evening. Got some information here on the slide. We're also doing obviously the new feature live webinar this evening. We're going to cover some of the new features that came out in the most recent release. But looking forward to in April, we're also going to be introducing a new series, which will be a virtual quick start exercise. The idea there is that we'll actually be allowed to send you out some information where you're going to be doing some homework before the workshop and then come into the workshop asking any questions you had about the workflows themselves. And Angie will actually be taking the lead on those. And so it's a good opportunity to kind of have a virtual workshop exercise, allows you to practice a little bit, get into some workflows a little deeper, and then have a nice resource to bounce off of coming out of those. So look forward to those. As always, we've got our YouTube and our newsletter to sign up for. But other than that, we're going to hop right into it. So a couple of things that we're going to cover this evening. The big one being some changes to the incident objects themselves. And so as you guys are well aware, we have the idea of having incidents. This one's a little bit focused on the management side, but I think it's important for everyone to understand kind of what the changes are having upstream so that you'll understand how they might affect you as a general user, or if you are an admin yourself, this is a great intro into that. So the first thing I want to do is, as we know, over the last couple of months, the management panels have changed quite a bit. And so now I'm going to go into manage incidents. I'm going to start by creating an incident. And so I'm actually going to act like we have this Fountain Grove fire here that happened in Santa Rosa. We're going to act like that one has happened again. It looks like it'll be the third one. And that's going to be important later in the video. But for now, we're just going to keep that in the back of our head. So I'm going to call this one Fountain Grove 2. The first thing I want to show is we have this new Reunification Details section on the incident page. And what this allows you to do is, if you are using Shelterly to publish your animals publicly or to integrate into Petco Love Lost, this information actually is going to be displayed on those animals' public-facing pages. So this is a great opportunity for you to put in a contact information. So if you believe this is your animal, please call 555-5555, so on and so forth, or email us at info@shelter. And again, this information is going to show up on those publicly facing animal pages. And if you are connected into Petco Love Lost and find an animal, when they connect, it'll actually be on that page as well. So if you are going to be using that feature, if you don't put anything here, that information doesn't show up on the animal page. It's not empty or anything like that. But a great way to just put that contact information in. It already on that page tells you what organization and incident, but this allows you to kind of direct them specifically to what resources you would like them to look at. So I'm going to make this map Santa Rosa, which is normal. We're kind of just allowing it to be centralized. But I want to call out the 3 buttons at the bottom of this screen. So historically, we have not, this is the brand new one. This is called Notify All Admins. This was happening by default, but now this gives you guys kind of the option to not let us know. What this button, if it is on, will do is when you save an incident, it'll notify an email everyone that is an incident admin inside your organization, as well as the entire Shelterly team. So by default, that is on. So right now I would be creating an operational incident. Therefore, I kind of want to notify the admins, as well as this other one over here being public discoverable. So this one, hover over it, this will allow this incident to show up on our public search page. If you mark an animal public, they will show up in that incidents page, which is a little bit harder to find by design, but if you want those animals to kind of show up more universally, you can opt those in. I'm going to turn that on just because I want to show you kind of what the behavior looks like. So now I actually want to make this a training exercise because we're just doing a training, not a real exercise. So when I turn on training, you'll notice that notify admins gets turned off, as well as publicly discoverable. So now publicly discoverable, you can't turn back on because we don't allow training incidents to ever be publicly discoverable because we don't want that mistake to be made. Now, on the notify all admins side, I do allow you to do this. I haven't figured out exactly what the specific use case is, but we wanted to leave it as an option because it didn't seem unreasonable. It might be a good way to, as a team for your team, to use this as the notification system and be able to practice that, hey, everyone just got this email, a new incident has started. Let's see if we can trigger our workflows off of that. Right now, I'm going to turn it off so that all my team doesn't get a big old spam of emails. So I'm just going to leave this one training. It's not going to be publicly discoverable because it can't be, and I'm not going to notify admins. I did, however, set the reunification details, and we'll show later what that ends up looking like, but just a couple of the changes to this page. So I'll save that, and now we have our new Fountain Grove 2 fire, which is looking pretty good. So now I'm going to hop back out, and I'm going to go into that incident. So here it is, the one that was just started today. And just like normal, now I've got a brand new incident. What is really cool now that we allow you to do, oh, actually I forgot one page. I'm gonna go back in here, is there's one other new option as well in here, which is manage users. So this is the Fountain Grove 2 fire that we made, and there's manage users, and this will show you all of the people that have access to that incident. And these are people inside my organization that have all training. You can see this is a lot of junk data that we've populated in here via testing, but this allows us to see all of the people as well as to remove their access if they don't have the all flag. So right now, all of these people have the all training access flag. We don't allow you to remove those, but if you have anyone that's just been added to one incident, they would show up right here at the top. So let me hop out and I'll make one like that just so we can see. So I'm going to go into my users here, and I've got this individual here, which does not have access to everything. So I will update this user. I'm going to give them access to that new Fountain Grove fire. So now it's in this selected list. I'm going to click save. He doesn't have all training, so he doesn't have the override. But I'll click save. And now when I go back into that incident and manage users, we will have one individual at the top right here, which was that person. And now in this case, you can go through this list and I'm like, oh, that person, they're done helping us. I didn't mean to give them access, whatever it may be. This is just an easier way to see on an incident basis. And so I'm going to remove this user. I say, are you sure? I'm going to say yes. And so now that access has been taken away from that account. If you want to take it away from these all training access, you have to actually turn off their access, their little override toggle. So we just, in general, those are kind of your trusted team members. And so we didn't want you to accidentally remove them. And so we made that a separate workflow. All right, so we're going to hop back into the Fountain Grove 2. And so right now I'm going to go to Hotline. I have no data in here, which is perfectly okay. One of the advantages of doing this is that this is the third time that we've had a fire in here. And so, as you guys are well aware, we've recently introduced pre-registration of animals. And so I'm very fortunate in that I've already had a couple of fires here, so we have some data entered. And so I want to show you what that ends up looking like. And so via the Hotline workflow, I'm going to go, and this guy has just called in. Oh, it looks like we actually have two people at this address. Okay, that's pretty good. One of these might be historical, one might be like the current owner. So I said, hey, is this Jen or is this James? This is James we're actually talking to. And so I'll click on James, we verify his phone number, I'm gonna make selection. And what's really nice is it's showing all of the animals that have already been pre-registered. And so now, instead of having to re-enter all that information, you can kind of see as I hover over this, I already have size, gender, color, breed, and description, some basic information populated. So in this case, I'm going to take in, he's just worried about Fluffy. I left Fluffy behind. I couldn't get Fluffy out of the house, which is okay. So we're going to say Fluffy. Here, we're allowed to go through kind of and verify the data. So if you need to update anything, say his phone number changed, you can go edit mode. And now he's at 23 instead of 22. Add in an email, whatever you may want, and then we'll go next step. Here, it's already brought in the cat. I haven't created a single thing. This is coming from historical data. So we've got cat, it's fluffy, orange, and calico, and small. Again, okay, I've got him on the line. I want to add some additional information. It's a male cat. It's an adult cat, fixed, and not aggressive. Looks good. Has a sore left back leg from a car injury. We can go next step. Verifying all the service request address like we normally would, and I'm going to go finish and create service request. And so now we've created a service request for James Anthony and his one cat Fluffy, which is pretty cool. So being able to reuse that pre-registered information. Now on the shelter side, I'm going to show you what that process looks like. Very similar. We're going to go shelter, and he's actually walked up to our shelter in, here we go, Santa Rosa High School. So we're going to do intake from walk-in owner. And I've got James here now. So the first time he called in as he was driving down and said, hey, I wasn't able to get my cat. In this case, he's coming to the shelter. And he has, and you see already here that the canary is showing up, the ferret and the cat is showing reported. And that means we already have this animal in this incident, which is good information for us to be able to see. So this animal is already here. And in this case, obviously, he wouldn't have the cat, so we wouldn't click it, but we're going to have the canary and we're going to have Frank the ferret. Next step, this works good. As you can see here, his phone number is already updated from the last time. So this automatically updates all his information. I'll go next step. Here's the canary, yellow songbird, has everything already populated. Come down here, next animal. Here's Frank the ferret, brown, gray, all these other bits. It was aggressive, special handling is required. All that information we didn't have to enter because it was already done ahead of time. We'll go save and finish. And so now we've finished our intake here, which is great. So now we intook those two animals. And when I go to James's page, you'll see that all three animals have been added inside of this incident. And that was all data. I didn't type a single word other than changing that 2 to a 3 because all that information was already pre-entered in a pre-registration. So that's pretty cool. It makes it really nice for reusing the data, especially when you have areas where you have common occurrences. You can also enter this data easily by making an incident and intaking the animals ahead of time. So if you're at a fair or a farmer's market, there's a way to do that. In about 2 months or so, we'll actually have a couple more tools inside of the management tool, which is where I'm going to hop to now. So I'm going to hop back out of this one, and we're going to go into Manage Organization and Manage Pre-Registered Owners. And so right now, I'm going to see all the operational ones, but I'm going to click this over to Training. And now we can see all of our pre-registered owners in our database here. And we noticed that canary didn't have a name. So I'm actually going to go in and update that. And there's 2 ways you can do it. So I'm going to look for his address. I'm in the management tool, so you can see here's James and Anthony. I can actually hop into the owner details, and I'm all in the pre-registration side. So you'll notice these animals have much longer numbers because the numbering inside of an incident always starts over at 1, but these stick around forever. And so these are their long-term numbers. You don't really need to know them, but it is useful. So here we have this pre-registered animal. I'm going to go into this canary. Actually, I'm going to show you, you can update the owner's information before the disaster, but you can see already that his phone number change has reflected here as well. Inside the actions, you can add an animal. So if you were continuing to add animals outside of an incident, but every time you add an animal inside of an incident, it adds it here automatically. So really, this is more about cleanup typically, or adding to the entry itself. But I'm going to go into our little canary here, and he's got his little page. This is pre-registered animal number 15,577. So getting right up there. But I can update this animal. Silly song. Seems like a cool name for a bird. And we'll click save. And so now that record has changed. And if I click back into James Anthony, we can see that information has been changed. So we give you the ability to pre-register the animals as well as update those records as you go. There's going to be some more robustness here, but this is kind of our first entry into this management tool. Ultimately, we're going to give you the ability to remove animals in the case of they're no longer with that property owner or location, as well as be able to defaultly add new owner information from this page. And those are kind of in the works, but haven't quite made that. So right now, any entries that you make into an incident will automatically show here, and then you can manage them going forward. Pretty cool stuff. So I'm going to head back into our incident here. And so right now I'm going to go and search for animals, and we've got our 3 right here. So I'm going to go into Frank. Right here, we've got Frank the ferret. He's sheltered. You can see again, here's all that owner information. Everything is reflected, but this is animal number 3. And on the other side, he had that much larger number, but they end up being the same animal because the one I was showing you is kind of the long-term record. And then this one again is just the record for this incident. Great. So next thing I want to show you guys is we're going to come back into the public animal piece. So I'm going to do another quick intake. I'm going to do intake from walk-in non-owner. So this is going to be a stray animal found on this street. In this case, Abby Gabby is our fantastic finder. We're just going to make a cat. It's going to be a black cat, black and brown. Oh, wait, actually, it's going to be a dog because I think that's the picture that I have. Yellow and gold. You can put in all the additional information that you have here. So it's a male, it's an adult, looks fixed, not aggressive at all, injured, no. As we're going down here, again, you can put as much information as you want, do your vet triage, but I'm going to add a front picture here. Of a nice little dog. We're going to go save and finish. And then we've got our nice new intake here. So I'm going to click in. So it was found by Abby Gabby. Here's our dog. It's at this current shelter location. And as we've shown before on this, we have the ability to mark that animal as public, which I'm going to do real quick. And that gives it a public record. So once I click into this public record, it gives us this public page where it has some basic information about the animal, but here is where we are now exposing those reunification details that we did at the beginning. And so this gives us the ability to give that information, and this page is accessible to the public without having to log into Shelterly. And so people are a little bit worried about that as an aspect, but again, you can see here, the only thing you're really showing is the species, the organization, the incident, the gender of the animal, and the primary color and the secondary color, and the reunification. We don't give any of the medical details. We don't get any found locations. None of that is currently exposed because we want to make sure that we're making that your organization can approach reunification the way that you feel most safe doing. So I'm going to hop back to this other tab. And the last thing I wanted to show you guys this evening is, as you kind of probably already saw as I'm going through these action menus, we have kind of a new style. And so we've standardized how all the action menus look, but one of the big things being that now you should never have missing options. You may have noticed that sometimes you're like, man, I really wish, why can't I see the split animal group button? And there's a lot of cases where some of the buttons were being hidden. They're no longer being hidden, and they're now being shown, but they're disabled with an explanation of why that button is not accessible to you. So in this case, individual animals cannot be split. Pretty good reasoning. Don't think there's anyone in there. The rest of these are generally available. Let me go into a service request and see if we can see what that menu looks like. Here you go. So in this case, remove service request from NFA. It's not actually attached to a field assignment right now, so we can't remove it from a field assignment. Makes a lot of sense. And just allows you to kind of have a better context. I know a few of you have run into those exact issues. And it's nice to just know what the full set of options are in most contexts and then know why you can't have access to those ones. So those are the things that we kind of wanted to talk about. There's a bunch more features that are always coming out, but these are the nice ones that we wanted to touch on to make sure that people are aware of them and can start integrating them kind of into their workflows before the season starts. I'm going to hop back out of screen share here. Actually, I'll probably leave it because we might have some questions and see if anyone had any questions out there.
Trevor, it's Lisa. Do you want to briefly mention the printable QR code?
Yeah, we can hop into that one. So we do have an upgrade to, if people are, I don't think a lot of people are using it quite yet, but inside your manage organization, we have the ability to manage access, and you can create access links. And access links, I think the reason people weren't using these is because they weren't very useful before. And now we've made them a lot more useful. So you can create an access link. And in this case, I'm going to go down and this is the Fountain Grove 2. So you're always making an access link only to one incident. You set how long it is till it expires, and we're going to click save. And so now I have this brand new access link. So now if you were to give somebody this URL, which now I've given you a copy URL button, which is nice. So it'll just say you've copied this URL. If you give somebody that URL, they can then log into Shelterly if they have an account, and they'll automatically be given access to that incident. If they don't have an account, it allows them to create one that will only have access to that incident. And so that's really going to streamline onboarding your Convergent volunteers without having to risk them getting too much access. But even a cooler way is you can imagine a world where you don't know where everyone's email is. You don't know how to get them that URL. And what you can do is actually give them this new cool PDF. And so that downloads a PDF. And right here, this then gives you a very printable 8 by 5 by 11, whatever that size is, PDF with a giant QR code. And if anybody scans that with their phone, it takes them directly to that page. So this is good to either print out and put right on your volunteer sign-in table, if that's the way that your organization is working. It also is nice to include in your IEP. If you're building an IEP, this is generally where I would include it. It has all the necessary information, but really streamlines onboarding convergent volunteers without the risk of them getting too much access. That couples really, really nicely. And actually, in fact, if somebody does do this, I should mention it does not automatically give them access. It just puts it into an access request here where you can see everyone. That way, if the URL just gets out and people start trying to do it, you still have one last check. It just means you don't have to put in their phone number. You don't have to put in their email. You don't have to make sure that they've reset their password. They do all of that before they even show up in this access request, and you can just come in the, once, 2-3 times a day and just approve all the access requests without having to get any of their information, as long as you can verify them. Good one, though. All right. Any other questions that we have out there? Not all at once, though. Awesome. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to put this slide back up. A reminder again about the April 13th. That's a new format we're going to try. And we're hoping part of this was from the training poll that we sent out. We got some feedback that people would like a bit more of a deep dive, the ability to practice. And this format is definitely not for that. I go way too quick. Also feedback that we got. But also why we record this and make them publicly available. And so we're going to kind of do the homework-based one that allows people to practice, come back in, kind of have, TA hours basically to allow us to do this back and forth and make sure that people are getting the concepts. That'll be open to anyone. That's not targeted at only leaders or anybody. It's just anybody that wants to get that practice. And as we're building out towards our serve group, this is going to be an important part of that tooling as well. So other than that, thank you guys for coming in this evening. And as always, it's great to have everyone come check out the new features, get to know Shelterly a little bit more. And we're continuing to build new features every single month. So look forward to the next live webinar for new features, where we're going to have next month quite a bit new add-ons to the vet module. We're working together with CVET, and we're having a pretty good overhaul of the vet module and expansion of functionality there, which should be really, really nice to have for the upcoming season. Other than that, everyone have a great evening and see you later. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.